Jude Kirton-Darling, a Labour MEP for the North East. This plant on Teeside, it's not the first time it's been in a perilous position, but it doesn't look very hopeful at the moment. What role should the government play, first of all? Could and can the government step in and help with cash?
Yeah, no, it's not the first time. I led steelworkers across Europe the last time that the blast furnace was mothballed at Redcar. And yes, the government should be doing more. I think there's a general recognition that they tried to argue that they couldn't do it because of EU state aid rules. They're not using that argument anymore because it's a false argument. We know that the French government, the German government, the Italian government have found solutions to save their steel industries, whether it's a temporary renationalisation or whether it's setting up and investing in research and development and environmental improvements in steel plants. There are ways that the government could step in, and really the time is now when the plant has been, the SSI has gone into liquidation, we're in the hands of the receiver. The government could be directing the receiver towards proposals which are on the table, including the idea from Hargreaves to take over the site to ensure a proper mothballing of the assets. That would be a clear way that the government could help at this point with the situation at Redcar.
I mean, sadly, companies do go bust, but it's a scale, isn't it? It's a scale of the number of jobs involved in this case. What options are on the table? I understand you're part of a task force. Explain about your role in that as well.
Yeah, it is the scale. We're talking about 1,700 direct jobs, but they're up to 10,000 across Teeside in terms of the supply chain, the port, and all of those who rely on the SSI plant. It's the second biggest blast furnace in Europe. This is a significant industrial asset. If we lose it, it will be very difficult to regain it, and we have to be realistic about that. So we need to pull out all of the stops, and I've been asked to be part of a task force set up by Anna Soubry and the local council. It brings together all of the key actors, whether it's the local enterprise partnership, local council, MP, local business leaders, the unions, trying to find a future for Teeside, trying to pull together all of our resources, all of our ideas, all of the tools that we have at our disposal to really find an effective future for Teeside and for all of the people who are dependent on Teeside for work.
You mentioned that the Hargreaves option is still possibly on the table. If that doesn't work out, or even if it does, what kind of support could Europe provide? This is an area you followed not just as an MEP, but also in your previous role. So you know something about the possibilities from the EU, I guess.
Yeah, we want the first choice at this moment is to get the Hargreaves plan or an equivalent plan supported by the receiver. That would maintain the assets, but it won't mean saving all of the jobs. It will save some jobs, but not all of the jobs. So we need some solutions in terms of the people who will lose their jobs, and at the moment we can't say how many that will be. One of the tools that we have at European level is the European Globalisation Adjustment Fund. It's a fund set up exactly for this kind of situation. Workplaces which go bust, and companies which go bust as a result of global markets, and SSI is a classic example. SSI has been hit by a low steel price, Chinese dumping, and the high pound. Now, we're trying to tackle those root problems in the steel industry, but in the interim, what we should be getting the government to do is to really mobilise funds like the European Globalisation Adjustment Fund, and ensure that there's money available to really support the workers affected immediately, and not that people are left in the lurch.
The government tends to be reluctant to bid to the European Globalisation Adjustment Fund to do with it really comes down to the rebate. Given though the scale of this disaster really for the local economy, would you like the government to really take this think about this seriously. There is a very short time limit when you can apply. Once a company goes bust, you have a number of weeks to put in an application.
Yeah, we need them to move very, very quick. You're absolutely right. The scale of the impact of the closure of SSI on Teeside means that we should be pulling out all of the stops, and any kind of party political attempt to protect the rebate at the expense of steel workers and their families, I think people will look very, very badly on that. So we really need the government to pull the finger out on this one, partly because any application can't be signed off by the local council, it can't be signed off by the receiver, it has to be signed off by Anna Soubry and the Ministers of State. So we need the government to recognise that this is a pot of money which should be liberated for the workers across Teeside.
And indeed that fund is being used by other countries, isn't it? Because exactly today, this lunchtime indeed, the European Parliament is expected to vote through funding for plants that have gone bust in, I think it's in Germany, Belgium and in Italy. So there is money there for the taking.
That's right. It's incredible that our government don't take advantage of the funds which are available at European level. We pay into the pot. We should be getting back out of the pot where workers are affected. We're voting today. That's one of the reasons why I'm in Strasbourg and not in the North East this week. It's very important as MEPs that we vote through the applications from other areas, from other regions affected by similar shifts in global markets. What we need is that our government recognises that there has to be specific measures, specific money available to support local plans, to support local people, to regenerate the economy. It's going to be very difficult. It's not an easy task at all. But I think within this task force that the Minister for Steel has set up, we have the actors who are able to pull things together to provide a future for those people who, my heart goes out to them, absolutely desperate. I come from Middlesbrough. I know I have steel through my veins, and I know how hard this is hitting people across the whole of Teeside. And now we need the government to really not delay any more. They've already waited for far too long.